Hi, I'm Jameson Newlander, Alan Frog from the Lost Boys, and you're watching the Frog Brothers podcast.
What Scooby-Doo is running from a spooky ghost?
It's refreshment time, folks.
Are either one of these any good?
Do you like scary movies?
I don't watch movies.
I have to return some videotapes.
You have a TV? No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. Don't need a TV.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me Shell. It's the fucking truth.
Over 1,600 titles, each for rent at just $2 the first night, and only...
Finish him. I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Okay, I want channels 18, 24, 63, 109, 87, and the Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Frog Brothers podcast with your hosts, Justin and Alec.
Hello, and welcome to episode 93 of the Frog Brothers podcast. My name is Justin. That is Alec, and we are here to talk tonight about the film Pulp Fiction, amongst other things. But before that, we're going to chat a little bit about the news, what's going on lately. We'll start out with some real friendly, basic stuff. So there's another Ghostbusters book that's coming out in November. They're already taking pre-orders, called How Ghostbusters Slimed Us Forever, A Convenient Parallel Dimension by James Green Jr. That seems pretty exciting. So that's a big piece there.
Oh, yeah.
I have resisted the urge of buying the digital copy of Afterlife because I don't want to pay for something.
You're a smart motherfucker, that's right.
As much as I've spent on Ghostbusters lately, so I'm like, God damn it. This is the willpower.
Yeah, I haven't done it, but I'm also a little more broke than you. So I have more of an excuse, but I've been tempted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. No promises, but I'm holding off as much as I can. And then if you are going to buy the Ultimate Collection, lots of places are sold out, like Target's pre-sales for that are sold out right now. They will sell that in stores. So that's pretty cool that you can look forward to seeing that on shelves at stores at like Target. And I'm not sure if Walmart's going to have it in store or not, but based on Target's app for pre-order, that's kind of what I got out of that earlier today. So that was pretty interesting.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Exactly. So if you haven't pre-ordered it, don't fret yet. There's still some hope out there.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Bob Saget kicked the bucket yesterday. Bucket checked out. Yeah, you can play some somber music for us.
Yeah.
So I didn't know until today because I saw some people are like, anyone likes Bob Saget's like basically human garbage. And I'm like, huh. I know he's kind of a controversial comedian here, right? Everyone knows that he was beloved for America's Funniest Home Videos and Full House.
Yeah.
These types are really family-friendly programs, right? And based on the Comedy Central roast where people basically said he was a pedophile, people took that to heart, even though there's never been any accusations, at least released publicly, and people were speculating that he had, did something wrong with the twins in Full House. And I'm like, I've never even heard any of that.
There's a joke. He made one joke apparently on set, which he has talked about because it's a funny story to tell.
It's in his memoirs where basically, like, if the girls weren't available to shoot a scene, they had a little doll that they would have just on scene, I think just for camera angles and prep and things like that when they're rehearsing. And, he did inappropriate things to the doll, which, I mean, I could see a lot of people doing that. So I'm like, there's plenty of people out there that have been canceled and done some fucked up shit. I don't really see that being accurate with him since there's never been any real allegations from anybody. So,
yeah.
So I don't know. I wasn't going to let that change me, but I saw a lot of people losing their mind about it. And I was like, considering who he is and what he's done, and, you can't forget the How I Met Your Mother narration that he did.
Yeah, I was a big fan of How I Met Your Mother.
And that was another huge thing he did that was a big part of people's lives. So interesting, the fact that people hate him based on sheer speculation without any actual legal allegations or any kind of recourse.
Well, right. You have, in terms of Bob Saget, he directed what, one movie?
Dirty Work.
So he directed Dirty Work. He was in two of the most popular sitcoms of all time. And, you know, he did the stand-up thing and his books and did various. And then he also, like, before he was known for doing raunchy kind of stand-up, he started making raunchy film appearances like Half Baked and Dumb and Dumberer, which is the superior sequel to Dumb and Dumber somehow.
Yeah. It's fucking mind-boggling how that one is, isn't it?
Whoa, that needs to be a topic someday. I'm going to do a little documentary subject on that, just to be like, what the fuck? How?
So that's going to be a
God.
Yeah, we need to see if there's any other sequels that fall into that category of bogus sequels, but still better than actual, like, proper sequels in a certain regard.
Yeah, I don't. Wow.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, speaking of bogus sequels, Scream 5 is coming out this month.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm excited for it.
I'm still excited. I like all the Scream movies. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about what I like versus what I think is a great film, Scream is the only great film, but the others are entertaining enough. I like them. I like the characters. I like the story. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're fun sequels for sure. They're not like anything that's going to change your life, but for fucking horror movies, the cheap thrills that you get out of horror sequels, which is why they keep making them, right? That's why we keep going back. Mm-hmm. So I got to say, I do enjoy some Scream sequels. Although, like I said, I think I've been spoiled on the killers.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they take some jabs at more modern horror stuff these days, you know? Read the whole like formula and actually have some smart stuff included as well. And that the others tried to do that, and some of them succeeded more than others. But I watched them again the other day, and I realized how little Sydney is actually in Scream 3, or like at least with the other characters. She's like off screen a lot and like just in her home still, like just chilling until she just really go out there. But had a good time watching it still, regardless.
Yeah, I got to get through the rest of them. Sad news beyond Bob Saget is Liz and I lost one of our pup friends, so we haven't really been in the mood to watch the Scream movies at the moment, but we'll try to get through them to get caught up for Saturday. So
yeah,
just kind of been one of those things that kind of takes you out of doing some of your normal routine when something like that happens. So,
well, for sure, that's the thing. It took me a while to want to watch horror movies after Ninja passed, but mostly because I know he died in a more gruesome way too. And
yeah, true.
At least he has that going for him. He had a comfortable existence. He's pretty old for a little guy. So,
yeah, definitely better than we'd expected, though. So
he's another. He was on the rung of mascots for us. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
We gotta do a shirt with him on it or something.
Yeah, I'd like that. I've actually got an idea for him. So a little silly shirt idea, I was going to think. A little print idea, maybe. So checked out the David Bowie kind of birthday celebration over the weekend. Liz is a big Bowie fan, so we checked that out. And at that for her birthday, it was a little virtual thing. It was only an hour long. It's pretty cool. Kind of wish it had been a little bit longer, but the musicians and stuff was top notch.
Well,
there's a lot of his backing band and stuff that was on there, so enjoyed that.
Go ahead, enjoy.
Yeah, just makes me want to see like a really awesome Bowie documentary and see, you know, when someone can like really come through and do something cool in that regard.
Yeah, he's one of those people that some girl said that she lost her virginity to him when she was 14, and like pretty much every 60s, 70s rock star and 50s, let's be honest, 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, I just haven't looked into it, but it's one of those things I've been hearing lately. I'm like, you know, it's a bummer. It's not as bad as Jerry Lee Lewis marrying his 13-year-old cousin, who literally still believed in Santa Claus at the time. So,
Yeah, some of that stuff's very controversial, but it's all hearsay, and I don't want to discount anyone that's been a victim, but at the same time,
Well, I don't know enough about the David Boyd situation to elaborate, but Jerry Lee Lewis, that's a fact. He did that.
Yeah, that's well known. Yeah, that's fucked up.
And people are still like, let's make TV shows about him and we'll show him getting sexual with girls in church and it'll be funny. And I'm like, fuck that old guy.
Well, it's not far off from Elvis. I mean, Elvis was a major skeeve too. So
yeah, I know, man.
But it was a pretty fun show to see that and just see like some of the backing musicians be on there and play with him it was the pianist kind of put the show together. I forget his name, but he kind of set it all up. And
the penis, I think Penis's name is Dick.
Richard. Yeah.
You suck.
So that's what I got there. So take it away.
Take it away with what? You want to talk about the movie?
Yeah, you want to throw some theme music in here?
Yeah, let's throw
You know what I just watched? Me pulling a can off some moron's fist?
Return of the Jedi. Did you see Alien? When that creature was in that guy's stomach?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You ever seen that really old movie? Empire Strikes Back?
Jesus, Tony.
Welcome to Retro Release Reviews.
Yeah.
The year is 1994. The film is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It's a fucking classic, man.
Yep. I got a couple editions of the VHS. We'll just show off real quick because I can. This is the edition you could buy at home.
And if you're on the audio feed, check out our Instagram. Alec will post a photo of each of these VHS slipcovers to show you how beautiful they are. Special
collector's edition, it says. Has obviously it says with never before bonus scenes hosted by Quentin Tarantino. That actually makes me want to watch this and see what they threw on here and if it's on DVDs later, which I'm kind of sure it probably is. But
I got the Criterion DVD of this, and so I actually had to break out the DVD to watch it.
So did I.
There's 2 discs in that. I need to pull out some of the special features when I get a minute and just go through and watch those.
Are you talking about this one?
Yep.
This one's not Criterion, unfortunately, but it is the fancy collector's edition that they released. And yours is the Jack Rabbit Slim's menu in it, doesn't it?
Mine did. Yeah. Is that what that one has?
Mine does not have that, but mine I bought a couple of years after you did. So they probably just stopped printing more stuff like that. So that's probably just a little cool thing that you have that I don't.
It's not actually, because I'm an asshole and I got rid of the DVD cases when I moved, and I don't think I even kept some of those ones. So
I wish you could give me that Jackrabbit Slim card then. And then
it may be in my case of slipcover. So when I throw the DVD cases out, I'd always take the paper cover out and throw it in a 3-ring binder. So I'm hoping it's in there. I'll go look for it sometime.
This is the demo tape for Pulp Fiction that they would send out to video stores and other places to advertise the movie and be like, hey, watch this shit and then, put it in your store and sell it. It's on the bottom back. It marks it a full-length screener for video retailers only. And I paid $1 for it at, I think it was at Goodwill. $107 million box office, the video event of the year. There's a bunch of stuff about critics on the actual tape, demo tape, not for sale or rental. Property of Buena Vista Pictures distribution and must be returned upon request. Yeah, good luck with that, bitch.
Yeah.
And now, motherfucker.
Disney's going to come after you for it. You son of a bitch. So this movie, man, so much awesomeness in this thing. This really was kind of a, Reservoir Dogs is this whole own thing, right? And then this was like, oh, you like that, did you? You like that, huh? Huh? You like that? Feel good? Yeah.
There's a little bit some of this backstory here we got to go into. Tarantino was in the late 80s working on a lot of different projects.
Mm-hmm.
First script he sold was From Dusk Till Dawn, which didn't get made for 5 or 6 years. Ironically, he ended up doing rewrites on it, I think, with Rodriguez, and they ended up making it,
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up being in it, which is funny as hell. But he also wrote True Romance and Natural Born Killers, and I think they were one movie at the time about two different couples.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like fucking 400-page script. And there was some other Roger Avery is his writing partner for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't receive a writing credit because Tarantino talked him out of it. He has a story by credit.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
His big contribution was the Bruce Willis piece. Like he was largely in charge of that kind of.
Oh, that segment. Okay. So the other piece that you mentioned Natural Born Killers and True Romance, and I believe some of the True Romance stuff that got cut was actually kind of reused in this, just because.
Yeah, lots of the stuff was interchanged between other stuff within those first 4 or 5 gangster movies, basically.
Yeah, and I think with True Romance, though, not having a different director and things of that nature, since he just wrote it, I think that freed him up to reclaim some of those segments that didn't make it or didn't even get shot, for that matter. So I'd be curious to see which ones those were.
Well, True Romance, he said, when like Tony Scott pretty much he changed the ending and he made it linear. He rearranged it, but he didn't like change anything in it, apparently, is what Tarantino said. So
okay, that's fair.
Like very faithful, as opposed to Natural Born Killers being changed quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think that was one of those that really kind of went off in its own way in the cult film world. So
I like Natural Born Killers, but if you wanted me to rank it as a Tarantino movie, it'd probably be my last one. But it's still a good flick. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is pretty good in it, so, and he ends up fucking without a dick at the end. So, like a lot of Tarantino movies, a character loses their dick or balls.
There's lots of genital mutilation and lots of feet in Tarantino's movies. So,
interesting. So this movie won the Palme d'Or at Cannes 1994, which is like, their most prestigious award, basically.
Mm-hmm.
With good reason. They usually pick some pretty interesting movies. Like, I think Wild at Heart won, when it was at Cannes that year in 1990 or something. This was first titled Black Mask, and it was more or less combined with something, like I said, some other shit at first, basically. They couldn't decide on well, I already told you about that too, about the story by credit. This is the first movie that Miramax fully funded, though, themselves.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't co-financed for anybody else.
Yeah, which is interesting. I think it only had a 7 million or 8.5 million budget. Something small like that, 7 or 8 million. And
I mean, a lot of the sets look like they're real locations, right, in this, which makes sense.
They aren't, though, like some of them. I mean, a lot of like the houses and stuff are like Jack Rabbit Slim's was completely constructed.
I know, and that's an amazing set, right? Is it not? That's
why that they have that opening sweeping shot, because Tarantino's like, no, we're going to use this thing. We fucking build it. We're going to use this shot where we just follow around the whole thing and show you everything. And I want to go there. I'm like, Tarantino, please make one in LA.
They should, man. That would be amazing. And they could easily reproduce exactly what they had.
Easily. And he could, oh man, just please do it.
I would love to see that as a traveling pop-up restaurant.
I mean,
with it, that'd be cool, because you could basically take that and set up in like a little warehouse area and like make it just be the same movie set.
That'd be cool too. But I mean, if they just made it a permanent establishment, I'd be like, every time I go to LA, I'd want to go there. Like Disney has that style of restaurant where you sit in the kind of car booths at Disney World Road. It was always super expensive, which,
and that's cool because it also had the, it was like old timey drive-in. So there's like movies and stuff playing on the wall.
Yes.
That's what that reminds me of. Same thing with the $5 shake. $5 shake.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the cast real quick.
Well, let's say Steve Buscemi, right? He has a great cameo in there, but he was actually in the running for a much larger role. Wound up not taking it because he had other commitments.
Well, he also ended up in Desperado. Desperado was in 94 as well, wasn't it?
If you look at the year, yeah, probably so. Right around.
Hell, Robert Rodriguez directed the scene in this movie where Tarantino's, in it. the whole coffee bits and all the other scenes where he's not in it.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool. Well, let's go down the list. Travolta, that's pretty cool. He was obviously Tarantino talks about the movie Blowout a lot, which is pretty cool. We'll have to watch it sometime. I have it. It's about Travolta playing a guy who's like an audio engineer who is recording sounds for a movie he's working on, and he's just like out in the woods at night and records a car accident. And he ends up in a murder mystery, basically, with sound as evidence.
That makes sense.
Pretty interesting movie. And so that's kind of where he was like, all right, I can put this guy in a fucking gangster movie.
For sure.
You have Sam Jackson, obviously, in one of his first big roles. Obviously, you have Jurassic Park before this. He was in, if you wanted to go down the list, he's in a bunch of stuff. I think he's in Coming to America, even.
This is one of his largest roles, though. That was like this. I'd say this is his breakout role, right? Jurassic Park was big, but
yes, this is breakout without a doubt. He was nominated for an Oscar for this.
I mean, it's with good reason, man. He's so great in this.
Uma Thurman, again, she's pretty great in this too. And then you form her initial relationship with Tarantino, which has that story about how she wrecked the car on the Kill Bill set, but we're gonna brush past that because we're not talking about Kill Bill.
Yeah, for sure.
Harvey Keitel, he's just a fucking legend.
Yeah, he comes in as the Wolf Man, and that is so on point with casting.
Yes,
Ving Rhames came in, and he was actually third choice on that. I guess he had a really great audition, but Sid Haig from everyone loves him from all the horror movies he's done. He was actually in the top running for that, and another blaxploitation actor that was popular at the time, or in the 70s and early 80s there. So pretty interesting to see that. But I mean, that was really a big breakout role for him as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't see much of him until kind of those last scenes, like throughout the entire movie up until you're face to face with him. I love that. That's just so clever.
He's pretty good. We also have Tim Roth.
Yeah.
And he's always great, pretty much everything I've seen him in anyway. So
he's got a lot of range too.
Yeah. Amanda Plummer is Honey Bunny as Tim Roth is Pumpkin. Later they're called Ringo and Yolanda, kind of. So Yolanda,
they're credited
their name, but
they're actually credited as Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, but we learn the real name. So
well, I don't think Ringo is his real name. I think that's just what he calls him, isn't it? But Yolanda is her real name, I think.
Yeah.
Maria de Medeiros plays Fabienne.
Yeah, she's great, and she's actually a renowned director. And if you look at her IMDb, man, it's incredible.
I want to look at more than just her IMDb, if you know what I'm saying.
This is snakeskin jacket.
This is a snakeskin, jacket. Go Web, go. Eric Stoltz, a one-time Marty McFly, playing Lance, the drug dealer. And this is the role originally Tarantino was going to play before he was like, I kind of need to just take a smaller bit. And so we get Eric Stoltz, and I love him in this role. He's great. And I kind of like, with my long hair and facial hair, and like how sometimes I'm just sitting at home watching TV, stoned, eating cereal. I'm like, wait, am I Lance? But I don't sell heroin.
I will tell you, watching it this time, the set dressing in this movie is so amazing. All the little shit they put in this film is on point.
Yes.
Eric Stoltz in this, man, you see him in this role and you're like, okay, it's very sign of the times, very grunge-esque, like, right? His role in the heroin and selling and dealing. Like, yeah, he's basically that character, and it's perfect.
Yeah. It's great. And he has range too. As we were talking earlier, Roger Avery co-wrote this. He also later directed The Rules of Attraction, which is a film that is based on a book by Bret Easton Ellis. Mm-hmm. American Psycho is, and Less Than Zero is. That movie stars James Van Der Beek, and Eric Stoltz has a role in that movie too, as a teacher who's like getting blowjobs from college girls, which, to be fair, is better than getting blowjobs from high school girls. So
clearly,
he's got that going, I guess. And then we also have Rosanna Arquette as Jody, his wife. And we have another Arquette, Alexis Arquette, as the gunman in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alexis Arquette, if you don't remember, is in a couple other movies. Let's see.
Wedding Singer.
I was about to say Wedding Singer is the big one that I'm thinking of, and there's another one I was thinking of.
There's 2 or 3 other roles I know that you used to be able to name off the top of your head. So
yeah,
last mentioned.
Christopher Walken, obviously, and it's little kind of a cameo, I guess you could say, but it's a small role. He has a good little fucking monologue there, and he kills it. Bruce Willis, obviously, is Butch. Like, this cast is insane. You mentioned Steve Buscemi. You didn't mention Kathy Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Green as Zed. He's also in The Mask with Jim Carrey. And Phil Lamar, who gets his head blown off as Marvin, is the voice of Hermes on Futurama, and he's just a big voice actor in video games and cartoons and all sorts of other stuff. So he's in Spider-Man 2 as well, actually. We just covered last week. He's on the bus.
Oh, okay.
Or, I mean, not the bus, the train, from that scene when he's doing that.
Yeah.
Any other bright ideas? I got a few. Yeah. So that's all I got for like intro notes for it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I've got several pages of notes on this, just kind of breaking down things, but just the way this movie is dissected into pieces that all kind of fit together, right? You know, you can take your chapters of a book and rearrange them, right? And I know you've even talked about this, like writing out film scenes and kind of arranging them or putting them together to make a cohesive project, which I think kind of stems from this type of thinking that, yeah, you don't have to have a linear picture for this to work.
Yeah.
Right. And if you go see Reservoir Dogs, you'll understand that to some degree, but this is really the one that kind of sets you up for that, because, and the thing is, it's not even just, it doesn't distract you in any way, shape, or form how it's done like that. Right. Because we see multiple characters go in and out, get killed or whatever, and then, you know, you jump back to them being alive again. So you're changing the time frame pretty regularly, and like it doesn't even matter because it's so well done.
Pretty much. I think you showed this to me when I was like 15 for the first time or something, maybe 14, somewhere in there. And I remember distinctly watching the intro and having to be sucked kind of into there. Because at first, you know, I hadn't watched many movies like this. It was the first Tarantino movie I watched, and kind of seeing them interact in the diner scene in the beginning, I was like, all right, where's this going? Oh, they're talking about Robin stuff. Okay. And then all of a sudden, when she stands up and she literally says, at this time, she says, well, he says, everybody be cool. This is a robbery, in his accent. And she says, any of you fucking pricks move, and I'll execute every one and motherfucking one of you.
Yeah, like that's so intense when you get to that, right? Because they're just, then the dialogue is what makes it so great, because they're just having this real conversation.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you know, last time when we stole the wallets, that was a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, just like people, it really felt like they're brainstorming because they're just sitting there fucking around having coffee and breakfast.
And then it's interjected with what people have come to know as the Pulp Fiction theme song, Miserlou by Dick Dale and the Deltones.
Mm-hmm. And that fucking title card too.
Yeah.
Just that kind of slow roll up in there. Yeah, man, it's great.
Doesn't it make your dick hard? Wait, it makes mine.
Not when you
yeah, it does.
Not when you wear it.
Oh, feel those nips through that Pulp Fiction logo. The credits are cool though, because then the radio changes over to Jungle Boogie by Kool and the Gang, and that shit's fun. And then you kind of just open up and they're listening to that in the car, basically.
Yeah.
Jules
and that's when you get introduced to Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield, and they are just talking about the hash bars.
Yeah.
And that whole conversation piece, man. Like, there's so many quotable lines in this movie just about that.
I was about to say that whole scene with his hash bar. It's legal to sell it. It's legal to own it. But get this: if you get stopped,
the proprietor can legally sell it.
Exactly. And I'm not just talking about no paper cup. I'm talking about a glass of beer.
Yeah, I love that too now because like we finally have that here in the States. So I was like, we're finally catching up a little bit. Being able to buy beer at a movie theater.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. Just like the way the people talk to it, there's just something so real about it. It was not a thing that people were doing at the time, other than a bunch of other indie directors, I guess you could say. Like, it was still new to write dialogue.
Kind of at this movement where that was becoming popular and people were realizing like you could write realistic dialogue and
like
stories going on with it, right?
You could probably say Spike Lee and Kevin Smith and what's the guy who did Dazed and Confused?
Oh, I forget.
Those kind of people, and Tarantino were doing that.
And the thing is, it just makes you feel like you're in the room when these are going on, right? You feel like you're part of the conversation.
And it is shit that you do feel like people would converse about because the other person would be inquisitive about it because it's interesting enough to just like occupy your mind for a moment and then keep rolling, which is how their conversations work so naturally because, I think some of it's based on real conversations Tarantino fucking had. And he was like, that's just a funny conversation.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing is you feel like that's true stuff, right? When he heard that someone is eating mayonnaise.
Well, he had gone to Amsterdam too. I think he wrote Pulp Fiction partially in Amsterdam. And that's why he wrote that kind of stuff into there.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So, when you hear that, like, that's influenced by a real story of him being disgusted by someone dipping fries in mayo.
Yeah. I've seen him, and they drown him in that shit.
And even the look on his face when he says that in the car, man, like, he just looked like he's just even fucking tripping about it right then and there, which is great.
Yeah. And obviously
and then the guns in the trunk was so good too. When they're like, yeah, man, how many of them? 5 of them? Man, we had shotguns.
Shit.
Yeah.
We skipped over. I mean, you skipped over the most classic line in that's quoted, which is the Royale with cheese. That whole thing.
They call it Big Mac. Big Mac, Le Big Mac.
Big Mac, Big Mac. They call it.
I didn't need a Burger King.
And then again, they're continuing their conversation. He starts asking her about Mia. And that's when they get to the TV pilot conversation, which is in our intro.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV. Yeah, but you are aware of this invention called television. And on this invention, they show shows, right?
Yep.
And he tells him a story about, this guy we used to call Tony Rocky Horror. And then they get into the talk about he threw him off a balcony and fucked up the way he talked.
Threw him out of a balcony over a foot massage. And that whole dialogue is hilarious, right? Because they're just sitting there waiting. And then they get to the door. What time is it? 7:23 or whatever they say, right? So they go off around the corner there, buy some time or wait. And then they finish that conversation, which is hilarious. Like the way he says it, he's like, just because, I wouldn't give a man a foot massage doesn't mean it gives him the right to throw the man out the fucking window.
And he's like, yeah. And that's not what I'm saying. You're saying it doesn't mean something. I'm saying it does. And then, yeah,
same ballpark.
Ain't even the same fucking ballpark.
Yeah.
And then you have them go back to the door for arguably one of the most iconic scenes in the whole movie. That's for other people, especially. I mean,
yeah,
like I appreciate this whole movie, but some people, if I feel like they only watch this scene and then like they don't remember the rest or something,
Well, I feel so much of this movie feels like the most memorable stuff to the average viewer is probably Vincent Vega and Jules together, right? I think those two in the same.
Oh, it's great, believe me, yeah. But there's a thought.
There's so much more to it. You always forget how much is packed into this thing when you go and watch.
Well, you know what? I'm going to unpack it right now. In the case, a lot of people on the internet think it's a big deal. What is in this fucking case?
Doesn't matter.
They're concerned. They're concerned. And you know what the most popular theory is among these stupid motherfuckers? And I know because I was in Tarantino groups before I left them because everybody's a fucking moron who believes this shit.
What's that?
They think Marcellus Wallace' soul is in the briefcase.
That makes no sense.
I mean, like, if you want to be logical, it's fucking gold, solid gold bricks, because it gets gold shine.
The golden reflection that you keep seeing when the case is open. But really, it's just a plot point. It doesn't matter what's in there. The value is implied. We don't need to know.
Actually, if you want to know, in a previous draft, it was diamonds.
Yeah,
that's all. And actually, if you wanted to like show a picture of what was in there, it'd be a yellow light bulb.
Yeah, really. On set, there's actually lighting devices in there to.
But people will be like, "No, you see, but Marcellus Wallace has the Band-Aid on the back of his neck," and I'm like, "Yeah, because that totally means he needs to get his soul back from some white dudes in a shitty apartment." Like, what? Why the fuck would they have Marcellus Wallace soul? Do you under what? What kind of movie do you think this is?
People are stupid.
Oh yeah, so I just had to address that because that pisses me off anytime I'm talking about this movie and that's like a discussion people want to have, like, oh, what do you think's in the briefcase? And I want to be like, my boss's dirty laundry.
Oh, yeah, I'm not having that conversation with you.
So just throwing that out there.
For sure.
Then he tries to act all chill. This whole scene is pretty awesome when he like takes the burger and he's like, oh yeah, that is a tasty burger. And they say things that like you hear people say like naturally, like where he's like, I can't normally get them because, you know, my girlfriend's a vegetarian and that pretty much makes me a vegetarian.
Exactly.
And
well, that's where people really fell in love with Sam Jackson, though, is that whole dialogue, speech, and everything there, because he's looking really friendly, but he's intimidating as hell. Like, I love it when he first walks into the room. The one guy acts like he's getting up. He's like, no, don't get up, and like slaps his legs to have him put his feet back up on the couch and still lay there, and he's just laying there terrified.
Right.
That's the shit that really, really works in this film.
You know what they call a quarter pounder in France? Tell him, Vincent.
A Royale with cheese.
You know why they call it that?
Metric system?
You're a smart motherfucker. That's right.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
Yeah. And then when he's like, you mind if I have some of your tasty beverage? Sucks that Sprite down to the very end.
While he stares at him like, bitch, I can do what I want to you.
It's like, that's the film version of mushroom stamping a person.
Pretty much, unless you just mushroom stamped him on film.
I mean, yeah, that'd be another movie though.
And then he starts trying to talk his way out of it, and he just shoots his friend, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?"
Yeah, that's the guy on the couch. Poor guy.
Well, let me retort. Does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch?
What?
And that's obviously one of the most famous dialogues. Say what again? Say what one more goddamn time? I double dare you.
Does Marcellus Wallace look like?
He's big. Black. That whole thing. Does he look like a bitch?
What? Bam.
Yeah, that whole
I ain't trying to fuck him like one.
Exactly. You read the Bible, Brett? There's this passage I have memorized, you know, Ezekiel 25:17. And it has the whole fucking, you know, that he's doing a big monologue here anyway, kind of with a little bit of interaction, but like mostly he's doing the heavy lifting. And
yeah, sure. Everyone else is just lucky to be in his presence at this point.
He fucking kills it too. And then they blow him away. And I love the effect of just like the slow flashing. It's just like interesting and different.
Yeah, there's a couple of those like scenes that they're this like they slow down just for a touch, just to put some emphasis on it, and it works so well.
And then we cut to the next chapter.
The next chapter. I didn't write down all the chapter titles when I was taking notes, just because I was.
Yeah, I didn't either. Starts out with, I think it's called Vincent Vega and Marcellus Wallace's wife.
Yeah, and this starts off, you know, we get our introduction to Butch here.
Yeah, this is a good frame up. Like, again, the back of his head, a little bit. and then Bruce Willis pretty much, I think it's mostly a close up of Bruce Willis, and you see him by the end because I think they're panning out slowly, if I remember correctly, something like that. And
if you feel that sting, it's pride fucking with you.
This is one of those things they tried to do with this movie, Tarantino and Roger Avery, where basically like taking these old like gangster movie and noir tropes and then enacting them and then having something that changes wildly that people aren't expecting, basically. And so obviously you have the fixed fight where the boxer doesn't do the thing and is getting hunted down.
Yeah,
but
and the fit
goes awry is later on with Zed, and we'll get to that. But that's just interesting because it is a very tropey, but it doesn't feel like it. You're not watching this going like, oh, this just feels like other shit, because it doesn't feel like it, even though it's like they're like, here's this old classic plot, but better.
Well, and Bruce Willis makes that interesting too, just because based on his physical reactions to it, right? He's kind of looking like, whatever, this is bullshit, but and he's not saying much, which he doesn't need to say much. And then, that's just this little blip on the room or on the radar here before you see
Vincent come in dressed as a goon, a couple of orcs.
Yep.
And they have that interaction, and he's like, I don't know who says something first, but it's like, something I can help you with, pal. You're not my pal, Palooka, he says, which is like a derogatory boxing term or some shit. I like had to look up one time and was like, I don't know what the fuck he's saying, but basically, he's like, yeah, you're a bitch. That's when he has that scene where, Vincent Vega, well, we're not going to finish that line. And then he walks over there to him, and that one, when he's walking over there and you see Bruce Willis turn his head and has that kind of stare where he's like, I'm going to kill that guy. I want to kill that guy. I want to punch him to death. And he later gets to do that, but we'll get there. But not punch him to death, just kill him.
Yeah, and you get to see that these guys walk in their gym clothes there, which is pretty funny. And he's still asking about Mia.
Which part are you talking about?
Oh, when they walk in there to see when Jules and Vincent walk in to that bar scene. I know you already mentioned that they'd walk, but they're wearing those clothes. So like, you're not even thinking much of it at the time.
Oh yeah. It doesn't look like they're in like, you're just like, you're kind of confused. You're like, why the fuck are they dressed like such goons? But you just figure, I don't know, maybe they're at the fucking beach doing some shit. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't judge these people.
Yep.
And then Vince goes over to Lance's place, which
there's a few key things I wanted to mention about Lance, right? So obviously they're having that really intense conversation about the piercings going on there, but this is where you start seeing these like pop culture references, like things. But Lance is wearing a Speed Racer shirt underneath.
Didn't you have a tongue piercing at one point?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Did that help with fellatio?
No, cunnilingus though. Doesn't really help. It just added stimulation.
Yeah. I should get my nipples pierced.
Okay, Nick. Keep
pretty much.
He's sick.
No, I should get a Prince Albert.
You should.
And then I should get surface piercings all down my penis. I should not.
If you want to.
I'm not gonna do that.
With piercing gun, though, only.
Right, exactly. No, the piercing gun undermines the whole thing. Turns the whole body into the tip of a penis.
Yeah.
I'm like, pretty game for that. Here's a key thing that happens though, which explains what happens later. Is he's out of balloons. Is a bag okay?
And the first times I was watching this, I wasn't thinking much of it. But then, when I was taking notes last night, I was like, the only reason she snorts that is because he's out of balloons.
Ooh, snort skis is what she's thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what she's looking at that. And I love how they're shopping through though. He's got 3 types. And I could just as easily seen Tarantino giving this delivery of that speech when you mentioned like he considered the role of Lance.
I'll take the fucking Pepsi challenge with these any day.
Yeah, exactly. Like I guarantee you, like Tarantino, like had him mimic him and was like, here's what I'm thinking. Like he just took it and ran with it and it worked.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like apparently actors would find like if you give them they call that giving them a reading, and they hate it. Apparently, most of them. Some of them are kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever, what the fuck. So, but I do like you're saying. I picture that happening here, and hopefully he was like not fucking mad about that.
Well, I think he did a good job matching the intensity and word delivery more than anything else. Like the physical delivery is whatever, but I think it's just the verbal delivery of the dialogue that really kind of says, oh yeah, that really makes sense that he wanted that role too.
And then you have a needle drop of Bullwinkle Part 2 by the Centurions, which is like the music that's happening when he's doing the heroin and shit.
Yeah, which I love. He's like, hey, you mind if I shoot up here? He's like, my casa is your casa.
Yeah.
Just a casual conversation.
After he stopped selling heroin, he went on to become a whatever he is, an anaconda.
A doctor, something.
He's some sort of like
snake doctor.
He's a tribal expert or some shit. Yeah. Anyway, he almost fucks J-Lo, so going from heroin dealing in LA to that's an upgrade.
Almost and really though are two different things. So
well, I mean, I don't know. I can't remember if they actually did it or not. But then he gets to Mia's. And there's already, you can just tell he's like already wants to fuck her. The moment he's just like, even in there, he's just kind of like, all right, I'm ready to fuck.
And he shows up like, oh, fuck, this is going to be stupid.
He's like, I'm fucking horny already. I should have jerked off. I haven't jerked off in like 3 days. This is bad.
I fucking shut up before he went over there instead of going to rub one out.
Yeah, you should have fucking shut up and rubbed one out at the same time if you had to, man.
Hey, they say that's important advice for life. Anytime you get an important decision to make, they say you need to fucking rub one out and do it with clarity. Just like going grocery shopping, right? You never want to go grocery shopping hungry because you always fucking make bad decisions. I love how she's snorting coke though while she's watching him on the closed circuit TV surveillance system in there, right? And she's following him around with the camera and everything.
Yeah, it's a little Scarface vibes for me. I like it. And
yeah, for sure.
Basically, they head over to Jack Rabbit Slim's.
It's a wax museum with the Pulse.
Yeah. And then we obviously have Steve Buscemi as the Buddy Holly waiter, and a lot of interesting talk and references. Lonesome Town by Ricky Nelson's playing in there, which is pretty cool. And then Rumble by Link Ray also plays, which is also in Independence Day.
There's so many things to pay attention to in that room as well. And so
yeah,
we did a little pre-show discussion, that they made this set.
Yeah. Constructed it from scratch and then it's gone.
But I could just imagine how awesome that was to be on set for that, right? I mean, you see how the size of that room and the layout of it is like, why is this not a real thing?
Yeah.
And you see all the different celebrities in there, and so they're correcting on who they are, like, no, that's Marilyn Monroe, and kind of going through.
Yeah,
they got all the singers and stuff as well, so it's celebrities and musicians.
Mamie Van Doren.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's
got to bring up the pilot. I heard you did a pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Their back and forth is always pretty interesting. And then she's like, I'm gonna go powder my nose, and she just means she's gonna go do coke.
I say, God damn.
Yeah. Shit, I got lost in my nose. Oh, that's when they eat and they talk more, and then they do the dance, the Chuck Berry song, You Never Can Tell.
Yeah, but you can't forget the whole conversation where he has the balls to ask her about Tony getting thrown out the window and the foot massage.
Another way to say it would be he was thrown out because of you.
Yeah.
Is that right? No, it's just what I heard.
Yeah. They say a lot. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, so they do the dancing thing, and then that's a very iconic scene. Again, as far as dance scene goes, it's probably up there for me because I'm not normally big into dancing and stuff like that, but it's still entertaining to watch more than other shit. So
When I feel like with Travolta being in there, they made that a little bit bigger than they could have had someone else been cast in that role, right? That could have been a very just brief thing or even an entirely different scene overall had he not been there. I think they just kind of wanted to show that off.
I think I've read Tarantino has kind of just wrote that in there before Tarantino or Travolta was involved.
Oh, okay.
That was just kind of how it worked out. But I'm not 100% on that. I believe that's what I've read though. Basically then they go back to Mia's place and he's like, shit.
Yeah, she was walking in with the trophy.
You can't.
They even dance a little bit on the way into that house. And you're like, oh fuck! And she turns off the alarm, which is like such a great touch. Like she's fucking around and like leans in to do that, and then they go back to it. And he's like, I got to use the bathroom or I got to pee, and she's like, that's more than I wanted to hear.
You're gonna go. You're gonna go in there, say goodbye, go home, jerk off, and that's all you're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's I feel like I give that speech to myself all the time.
Yeah, probably.
But not because of like some temptation. I like if I'm in the bathroom at Target, I'll say it myself. Just because it's a fact, not because of I'm not trying to convince myself of that. I'm just being real. You're gonna go home, jerk off, and that's all you're gonna do.
Oh man. And then it gets wild from there. Like that whole pep talk, and then she's wearing his coat, which, if you're not paying close attention to, like, it's just one of those things like taking notes. You watch movies a little differently, and I'm like, oh, that's why. Because he was being a gentleman, put the coat on her when they left with the top down in the car, that whole bit. And then she finds the heroin. And
snort.
That's where the balloon comes into play. There's no balloon there. What wrong?
And then that's when girl, wow, 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 you'll be a woman soon. Yeah. And then he comes out and he's like, listen, Mia, it was great and all. I think it took him long enough that I think he did just jerk off in the bathroom.
That's implied. Yes. I'm assuming he did.
Because otherwise he would have come out and been like, oh shit, she's overdosing. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's basically implied there because he comes out and by then she's like foaming at the mouth and like stuff she snorted like drained down her nasal passages and like in her mouth. And yeah, it's all looks fucking grotesque though. It's so well done. You're just like nasty.
And then so he calls Lance, and I love this because it shows just Lance's place and the phone rings and he's sitting there with his legs kicked up in the recliner, just watching, I think, Looney Tunes or something. And he's like just eating cereal.
Fruit Brute is what's the box of cereal on the
Fruit Brute.
Yeah. Love it. That's another one of those references there, man. Like Lance has the best shit in his place.
And Jody's calling out from the bed, like, what the fuck?
I told these motherfuckers never to call. Yeah, she's angry.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I did, and that's exactly what I'm going to tell this motherfucker. And then it's him, and he's like, I'm coming to your place, man. I'm in big fucking trouble. Wait, what? I got this. She's ODing on me. And he has that whole thing where he has to threaten him, and he's like, I will be forced to tell him that you did not help me. And I love like one of my favorite shots in this movie is when Lance like pulls down the shade or whatever on his front door and it flaps up and you see just the car fucking jump the curb into his house. And then he's like, what the fuck? And goes outside and the camera follows him. I'm like, oh my God, it's such a perfectly.
Oh, it's so well done. And then like when they have to carry her inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
black medical book. I love that whole argument about that.
Yeah. A little black fucking medical book. And then I laugh at every time too. I need like a black magic marker. Like a black felt pen. Like a black magic marker. You got it? What? A fucking black felt pen. And he's screaming at her.
Losing his shit. And she winds up giving him the red marker, which is great.
Yeah.
You know what else is great is the girl that's just fucking smoking the bong on the couch the entire fucking time. And like that whole bit is just based on, you know, like anytime you fucking go buy a fucking pot from somebody or anything like that, there's always some random motherfucker hanging out there that's just chilling.
Well, yeah, especially back in the day when it was a lot harder to get, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's kind of like
somebody like who's the friends of the dealer, or somebody who's also just buying, but is like hanging out. Like they could be fucking anybody. So that whole scene happens, and I like when he's like, "You got to bring it down, you know, get through the breastplate." And I got to stab her 3 times. No, you don't got to stab her 3 times. But you got to bring it down hard enough to get through the breastplate, and then push the plunger down.
You know, one of my favorite visual shots in this whole film is like when they have that needle up and you just see it dripping, and that zoom in on that drip is so fucking good.
Well, yeah, the focus changes to the drip instead of the actual hand holding it. So it's like, oh, that's a fucking beautiful shot. Yeah.
Beautiful shot. Yeah. And then you see, you know, him get the fucking courage to deliver that.
Oh, yeah.
And that is fucking amazing. And then is it Judy or Jody that's his wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, when she fucking flips out, because she just fucking, you know, she goes from like being pissed to being like having an adrenaline rush of her own, like, what the fuck? We got a dying person in here. And she just like all for it when she flips up.
Yeah.
Flips out from that adrenaline, just as like comes back to life. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah. And then he takes her ass home. She finally tells him that joke that they were talking about over dinner.
Yeah. The ketchup joke.
Yeah. And then they agree to not tell anybody about it, basically.
She's like, I'd be in just as much trouble as you. He's like, I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
No, that's great because they're both just in agreement upon, hey, let's just fucking let this be. Then we move on to the next chapter, which is
Butch.
Christopher Walken. Yep, it's Butch as a child talking to Captain Coons, who's Walken's character. And I love how he knows the entire history of this family watch. So,
yeah.
Uncomfortable, like a junk.
That whole scene is an interesting monologue, and it's one of the funniest things in the movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I hid this uncomfortable chunk of metal up my ass. And everybody always quotes this one, you know, and does a bad Walken impression for it. It's classic.
It's one of those things, though. It's so well done. It's such a brief moment in the movie, but it stays with you in a way that, you know. And I want to say for me, that was one of my first. That was kind of like the reintroduction to Christopher Walken, right? You know, you're familiar from Wayne's World 2 in some degree, you know, and obviously for somebody in the mainstream or a little bit older, they probably would have been, you know, kind of floating on the line of each of these at the same time. But to go back and see this and kind of see that, you're like, oh shit, man, this guy's got some chops, which makes him that much more of a badass when you rewatch Wayne's World 2 after you see that dialogue.
Yeah, he's in True Romance before this as well.
Yeah,
another flick. That's probably where Tarantino was like, "All right, cool. We're gonna put this guy in." What was he in? One of the Godfather movies too? I don't know.
I mean, his resume is impressive. So
I haven't seen a lot of his older work, but I know he's been in stuff since the 70s. So
The Gold Watch is what this chapter was called, and I wrote that one down just because it was an easy one to jot down real quick while I was taking my notes.
Yeah.
I love how they transition to the present time from that, right? You know, you see Butch having this flashback and then you hear the boxing bell ring and like, then they're back in the room.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets intense again, which you're like, why did they show that there? Right. You have no idea why that's there. Right. They could have easily like, I don't want to say a less sophisticated director, but a safe move would have been to have like that whole Christopher Walken dialogue later before, you know, you kind of understand why that watch is so important to him. But we already know that. So,
yeah.
It's a fun little bit.
Yeah, I think it works. And then basically he does not throw the boxing match.
Fuck no.
He kills the other boxer and then gets in a cab. And the fucking cab driver's obsessed with how he just killed someone. Is like, oh, I want to know more about this guy you killed and shit.
Yeah, and that's pretty awesome too. I mean, because you see her just listening to the fight on the radio out there. And then, you know, when she kind of finally realizes who it is and what he's doing. That's great. She's so fascinating too, the way like she's having that conversation back and forth with him about it.
Yeah. It's a good scene. It's not like super iconic dialogue in the terms of quotability, but it's just like one of those, it's still fascinating to watch because she's just like, what does it feel like to kill a man?
And yeah. And then
I didn't
see after she drops him off, we see Butch talking to Scotty in Knoxville about making his plane. Yeah, it's going to take me a couple days to get down there. So they're already planning, you know, to collect his earnings. How long will it take you to collect the money?
Yeah.
Okay. So it just kind of sets you up that like he's got to skip town for this.
Yeah, pretty much classic. And he goes inside to Fabienne, and she fine. And then she's having this about pot bellies.
The whole conversation, the pot belly, and he's like, "I would punch you in your belly." She's like, "You would punch my belly?" You know, it's just fucking classic. Because it just feels like a real sincere couple having a intimate moment, like with the silliness of the dialogue after that. So I think it works out great.
Yeah.
Did you get everything? Yeah, I think so.
Well,
you see Butch.
I just like the way she says oral pleasure.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you see Butch go down on her, then they shower.
Yeah, and then you almost see Bruce Willis's dong, but you see his pubes quite a bit.
Yeah,
aren't a merkin.
I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to ask him behind the scenes.
Then yeah, where's my watch? She's brushing her teeth. Maybe she ate his ass too. She probably rimmed him.
She could have.
Yeah, that's my guess. And then he basically, he loses his shit, throws the TV everywhere, and she cowers in the corner. And he's like, all right, well, you know what? It's not your fault. It's fine. I should have illustrated how important the watch to me, the watch was.
I mean, yeah. No, that's a very interesting piece, right? Because obviously he immediately realizes like he fucked up.
But then it cuts to him back outside, and he's just like, "This stupid motherfucker. I told her the one thing to get was my father's fucking watch."
Yeah, but to me, like as I was watching it, I was like, what kind of asshole puts that on somebody else, that responsibility on somebody else? Like he should have just had that with him.
Yeah.
He should have packed that part of the bag for her so she had it. So, I mean, but I get it. It creates the tension you need in that moment.
And then I like the long takes of him getting out of his car and sneaking through back plate, like corners and shit to get to his own apartment.
Yeah, he parks like a block or two away and then like comes through the back way or the apartment, which is great, you know, because that's what someone would do. And like these little shots just add so much depth to.
So does like him getting the Pop-Tarts out, man. It rules. And then he's like, puts them in the toaster and is like, oh, there's a machine gun there.
Yeah, he's like, there's
and then he hears the toilet flush. And I love that when he's like, instantly picks it up and slowly just points it over there.
Yeah, at the bathroom. Uh-huh.
And then Travolta, just not expecting this at all.
Fucking shocked.
Like a deer in headlights, just stops and then gets blown the fuck away.
As the Pop-Tarts pop out and the smoke detector goes. It's beautiful. Yes. It's so well done. There's like so many little things in that shot. Like just shooting him dead would have been great. But shooting him dead while the Pop-Tarts pop, and they're the cinnamon Pop-Tarts off brand, like toaster brand or whatever, you know, some shit.
Makes me want Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. And then I love how he's wiping down the gun too after he's in there, right? You know, because he walks in, gets the watch right off the kangaroo thing that they've talked about. So that was great.
Yeah. And he gets back in his car and he's listening to Flowers on the Wall by the Statler brothers. Come flowers on the wall, that don't bother me at all. And then he's like singing along and just bouncing around, having a good time. And you see Wallace just start walking across the fucking street with coffee and donuts.
I love it.
And then it's like he has a double take.
Yeah, and you realize,
motherfucker.
And then he just goes to run him over, and then he gets fucking T-boned after he hits him. So,
which this is the Kathy Griffin cameo.
Oh shit, she is right there. Okay, yeah, I always
forget. As herself, and she's just like, "Are you okay? If you need someone to go to court for you, I will do that or whatever." And then they start fighting and shooting. Well, he shoots a couple times and then chases him around to the pawn shop.
Yeah,
and somebody's gonna get their fucking head blown off.
He's got his fucking foot on his face and the gun, and he's like about ready to execute him, like point blank.
Yeah.
And that's when the pawn shop clerk freaks out. Hey, gets him to put the gun down.
Yeah.
Then he calls Zed. He's like, Spider caught a couple flies.
Creepsters.
Yeah. This whole thing, man, I remember like the first time seeing this, like I think it was the first time I saw someone ever wearing a ball gag, and you're like, holy shit. And then the GIMP suit and the GIMP mask and everything. Yeah. You're like, all right.
Yeah. You're like, huh.
I think this is fascinating.
Kind of makes me want to get a GIMP suit. I already have the trunk.
You may as well get the mask too.
Yeah. And that's a great but fucked up scene. But I mean, I love it when he eventually, basically just fucking breaks the chair because he's butch as hell.
Yeah.
Knocks out the fucking GIMP, goes upstairs and is like debating weapons. What's the first thing he finds?
The first thing he's looking at is the claw of a hammer. He's got the hammer. And he's like looking at it backwards, checking out the claw of the hammer.
Yeah.
And
like, oh, there's a chainsaw over here.
And that's very much like a nod to the Evil Dead stuff, like the ultra violent type stuff you see there, I feel like.
Yeah.
That cracked me up because he like grabs that and you're like, that's not going to work. And then he sees that fucking samurai sword and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And I love the way he looks at it. And there's like the little blood, still on his face. And he's just kind of like, oh, that'll do it.
Yeah. He's thinking about it. So.
And then he goes and interrupts the raping and proceeds to kill the first guy that called the other guy.
Yeah, he kills the guy that called Zed, and I don't know if we ever hear his name mentioned or not, but I just, the shop clerk, basically, pawn shop clerk.
I'm not sure either.
But he slices him like nice and clean, and then I love how he does that backward stab too. Like I think the behind stab,
like a fucking anime character.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about that, though. It's like it just references so many other things, and like you're like, hell yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes from this, when he says, "You hear me, hillbilly boy?
Yeah,
medieval on your ass."
Yeah,
you can't even quote half the shit he says because he says the N-word frequently. But when he says, "I'm a call up a couple of hard pipe hitting N-words and to go to work on my friend here with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch."
Yeah, and you're like, God damn, that's brutal.
Fucking deserved though.
But it's so great though how these two have this fucked up experience and then it completely drastically changes the future. He's like, so what's this mean?
Yeah.
And, he's basically like, this is just between us. He's like, go away. He's like, two things,
this is
no one.
This shit here is between us.
You, me, and these hillbilly motherfuckers or whatever he says.
He says, and this, something about this rapist here.
Rapist or something. Yeah.
I think he says, soon to be spending the rest of his miserable life in agonizing pain. Rapist here.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he says.
Yeah, it's fucking intense, though, man. You're like, oh, shit, you fucked up with the wrong guy.
Yeah. I mean, what now between us? Oh, that what now? And then your LA privileges are done.
You got to leave by tonight. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And then he fucking exits.
Steals Ed's bike. It's a chopper. It's not a motorcycle. It's a chopper.
I'm sorry, baby. I had to crash that Honda.
Yeah. I love that line. That's so funny. I'm sorry, baby. I had to crash your Honda.
I hope I get a girlfriend someday and she has a Honda. I'll just come back on a bike one day. She'll be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, baby. I had to crash that Honda. And then we kind of flash back to the big opening story. The bookend.
Yeah, the Bonnie situation.
Yep. And you have Alexis Arquette in the bathroom at this point and listening to the scene we already heard from the other one where Brett was getting shot.
Uh-huh.
And then
comes out and fucking
pops out, yeah, and is like, die, motherfuckers, or whatever, and empties the fucking gun. And the slow real
they both like at each other and
where they look down and they're like, look at the other person, and they're both looking at each other like, no, I'm good. And then just instantly, and then they just fucking unload on them.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's insane. And like, I love how, they have details of the bullet holes in the background that weren't there before, right?
Yeah.
So as far as continuity goes, they do show that like the bullets just missed them. So that works great.
Yeah. And then he's basically convinced it's a miracle.
Yeah, it's divine intervention. Yeah.
And then we're kind of following them the rest of their morning here. And we go to they're in the car with Marvin. Marvin's with them and he's in the back seat and he's like,
yeah, Marvin's the sole survivor out of that group and he's hostage at this point. So
Marvin was their guy on the inside though, too. Like he worked with them, but they knew he was like an informant for them, basically.
Yeah.
And so he accidentally shoots Marvin in the face, obviously. But I think it's funny, the look he's given. What do you think, Marvin? Do you think that God accidentally came down and
yeah, the fucking camera angle on that is so good because the explosion of the blood in the back of that car is just like,
oh shit, I accidentally shot Marvin in the face. Fuck you do that for?
Well, an accident.
Accident my ass.
The only thing that would have made that just a slightly bit better, in my opinion, would have been just to see like the car like have a small bump on it, just to kind of see it like ride on the shocks a little bit, implying that like they hit a little bump and just.
I think it'd be funny to cut to the outside and show it just like a couple frames of the car swerving when the bullet goes off.
Yeah, that'd be good too. That was wild. And so then he's everywhere, and then they argue about fucking the hell they're gonna do.
And then you have to call in Jimmy and go in his place. And when they're hand washing, that's another one of those things where he's like, it's perfect writing because it's shit you would hear in real life when he's like, what the hell you do to his towel, man? And he's like,
it's not my fault you didn't have lava soap or whatever he calls it.
Yeah, he says, I've washed my hands. And he's like, I watched you get wet.
Yeah, I watched you put water on your hands. Yeah.
Because I watched you get them wet, which is that classic mom shit.
Uh-huh.
And then he says, and when I was finished washing my hands, the towel didn't look like no goddamn maxi pad.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the coffee conversation. He's trying to like,
this gourmet shit. He's like, I don't want
to talk to him and be really nice to him, basically, to get what he needs to get done.
He's like, Bonnie buys that crap. He's like, you know what? I buy the expensive good stuff because when I drink coffee, I want to taste it.
Yeah. And then he says the N-word a lot.
You can tell that Jules is clearly pissed about that, but he knows to hold his tongue, where Vincent doesn't.
Yeah.
Then they call Marcellus.
I love that scene when he's on the phone with Marcellus, though, and he says, I don't want to hear that. This is what I want to hear from you. And then he says the thing, and he says exactly the way back, except with which the wolf will be on his way, whatever at the end there.
Oh, shit. That's all you had to say.
Yeah. The wolf shows up and gives him his whole bit. I smelled some coffee in there, Jimmy. Can you give me some of that? How do you take it? Lots of cream, lots of sugar.
Yeah, he gives instructions out there, and then obviously Vincent's got to run his fucking mouth again, man.
Yeah,
we can't just shut up and no one to be quiet.
Matter of fact, your ass should be back here picking up the pieces of skull and shit. Your ass should be on brain detail.
Uh-huh.
That scene and them cleaning the brains out of the car is great.
Well, and I love the whole dialogue thing too. He's like, your aunt and uncle millionaires? No. Yeah. It's like, well, your uncle Marcellus is.
Yeah.
Or Marcel is. And,
yeah.
I don't know why I said it wrong and I had a brain blip.
Well, saying Marcellus plural or any sort of way other than just saying Marcellus makes it weird sounding.
Yeah.
And they basically end up
you like oak? I was like, do you like oak? Yeah, oak's nice. They do such a great job of like building that tension there, like Bonnie's on the way, right? We got about 15 minutes, guys. You've been to county before?
Spraying them down, yeah.
Yeah.
Then
they laugh at me like, these are your clothes.
Yeah. They dorks. They look like dorks. Then they're at breakfast at the diner. And boy, does this diner look familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the conversation they're having about like pork, whatever. And when he's sewer rat may taste like pumpkin pie, but I'll never fucking know.
I wouldn't eat the shit.
Yeah.
That's great. He basically tells him he's getting out of the game. He's done. Yeah. That was a sign.
You gotta be a fucking bum. And then you are realizing that you're back in the scene from the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I find this part very interesting because they use the different, like it's a different shot or a different take or just a different, like, you know, I'm saying that it's not the same shot or voice of her. The line is different even. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She sometimes says, any of you pricks move and I'll execute every last one of you motherfuckers. The motherfuckers at the end at this time.
Yeah.
Middle of it.
Well, I think that works, right? And it's one of those things you don't even really care.
Well, yeah, no, it's just interesting to me. It's a filmmaking thing, not like a flub.
There's another interesting piece there too. Right before that, when Vincent gets up to go to the bathroom, he's like, I got to take a shit or whatever. And so, you know, he's consistently as a character just tells you when he's got he's got bodily business to take care of, because he tells Mia that he's got to take a piss and now he's got to take a shit, right? So it's consistent through his character. Those little things really add up and work.
And
well.
He's always shitting too. How many times do they show
exactly
this man shitting? He must have had some irritable bowel syndrome.
Could be.
Yeah, this is a very iconic, epic ending too, though. The whole confrontation between the three of them and then the four of them.
I'm trying real hard to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much of his dialogue there is amazing.
The truth of it is you're the weak, and I'm the tyranny of evil men. But I'm trying. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
So amazing. Get my wallet out. It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Our friend Tony had the bad motherfucker wallet, like, you know, in junior high. So I remember it was so funny. Like at lunch, you know, you can't just whip out the bad motherfucker wallet in front of everybody. You got to be kind of discreet about it.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff. But obviously that was inspired by this. So I think Tony had seen this and then, you know, that became his thing. So,
yeah. Yeah, you could buy those wallets for a while. I'm sure you still can. Someone makes them.
Sure. And I love how he takes the money out of it, gives him $1,500.
Jules, if you give that idiot $1,500, I'll blow his head off on principle.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's so great. The
We're
tension
all be like a couple Fonzies. And what's Fonzie like?
Ooh. What's Fonzie like? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of music in the restaurant, man. And then the needle drops, the music plays.
And then written and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Man, that's a great film, isn't it?
Yeah. You're telling me.
Well, we don't want to outdo ourselves. So we got one more little segment for you.
Oh, do we?
Yeah. Top 5.
Let me see. Where's my music?
Theme music, you stupid.
Top 5. 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 Top 5.
This is top 5.
Top 5 Tarantino music needle drops. Top 5 Tarantino needle drops. That sounds better. Where's my list?
Well, my thing is, and it's hard to say needle drops for me, but I mean, it was just stuff that's been in his movie that really sticks with me.
Well, then you missed the theme, but no, it's okay. It doesn't matter as long as they're music that's in there. I steered clear of the scores that he, I should say, repurposed, but I used only pop songs for it. But
yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, I get that. So.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is "You Can Never Tell" by Chuck Berry in Pulp Fiction from the twist scene.
Yep.
Fucking love Chuck Berry, and the fact that they've got him in there, and for that, it's so great. I think everyone knows that Chuck Berry song, right? It's a very popular one. Obviously, he has a great catalog, but that just sticks with you. And I love that scene. I love the whole background in that dance scene is just great. So that song always sticks with me and really stands out. What's yours?
My number 5. I'm going to play a second of it for you here just because some of these are going to be hard to know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's Strawberry Letter 23 from the Brothers Johnson. From Jackie Brown.
Okay.
As soon as he, Sam Jackson shoots Chris Tucker in the trunk, he gets back in his car, and that's the song on the radio.
Nice.
And I just fucking love the way it fits with the vibe, you know, just like, I don't know, makes that scene for me.
Yeah, I could agree to that. My number 4 is "There Won't Be Many Coming Home" by Roy Orbison from The Hateful Eight.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love Roy Orbison in general. So
I just love how Quentin's able to throw like all these old classic rock and roll songs and oldies, I guess, technically, if you want to go for the titling correctly of it, but it is able to like put these things in here and really give them some good scenery around him. Kind of, he's able to renew the music by the scenes he puts it in.
Yeah, I watched Hateful Eight this week as well, actually.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. All right.
Well, is it my number?
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is from Inglourious Bastards, David Bowie's Cat People.
Hell yeah, that's a good one.
Which is also in The Cat People.
Yes, it is. That's a reused one, but it's David Bowie, so how the fuck you can argue that?
Well, yeah.
I would say there's some amazing stuff in here. So for my number 3, I go to Django Unchained. The song is Unchained by James Brown and Tupac. God damn, that song fucking hits.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
it. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Bang Bang from Kill Bill by Nancy Sinatra.
I would agree with that one. That's great, you know, because that's my number 2, actually.
It's iconic as hell. It opens up the movie. And I like Nancy Sinatra quite a bit. So
when it's in there twice, it's also at Hanzo's bar. And so you really get that in there. It's so good. You know, I had an honorable mention from Kill Bill. I'm just going to throw it out there real quick because I could pretty much tell you it's not going to be your 2 or 1, but it's a Woohoo by the 5, 6, 7, 8s. But that song got ruined for me to some degree because it was heavily used in some sort of like phone commercial advertising. And I was like, God damn it. I always want to think of Kill Bill when I hear that because it's such a fun, simple tune, but
yeah,
ruin it.
My number 2 is Little Green Bag, the George Baker selection. Fucking rules.
Hell yeah.
It's the opening credit sequence music from Reservoir Dogs. Yeah, that was I listened to that quite frequently and still, so my number 2.
My number 1 is from Reservoir Dogs. It's Stuck in the Middle with You by Steelers Wheel. During the cop torture scene. It's fucking so good. Like he's dancing around while fucking torturing this cop.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking like an uplifting, fun song, you know, it feels like a real good, feel good pop song type, and so fucked up the scene and the imagery going on around it. You're like, God damn, it's great use of that tune.
Yeah. Well, my number 1 is from something we just talked about, and it's classic. I drive around listening to this shit all the time now.
Hell yeah.
Rider by the Lively Ones, which is the ending sequence music for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's a great man.
It starts playing, and when they're about to like tuck their guns in and walk out of there at the diner, it just rules.
He's got such an iconic choice for a lot of the guitar licks and things like that, right? You'll notice a lot of the guitars have this certain like twang, reverb, vibrato, like that you'll kind of just notice that's
they're surf bands.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is Tarantino used a lot of surf music in this because he thought surf music sounded a lot like spaghetti Western music. And it kind of does. It has that vibe. So
it's in the same alley, right? You could easily change the music just a little bit to get those vibes, right? I mean, they're parallel, I would say almost, right?
Yeah.
So
good.
Let us know what your top 5 drops are from Tarantino's films. There's a lot to choose from out there. So
yeah, comment below.
But that is going to conclude episode 93. So make sure you subscribe and like if you haven't already, and we will see you soon.
Good night.